education. These workshops they're not missing what we're going to do today. They're all standalone workshops.
Okay.
So today we're going to look at internet safety. We're kind of take a look at some proactive steps. What are some things to look out for, and what are some reactive steps? So what can you do at the beginning? What do we do in the middle? And then if and when something happens, what do we do? So a little bit about me. My name is Jeff Newman. I work at one of the 8 churches in town that he mentioned. I work as a technology coordinator, and I work in the office. But this is my background. What makes me qualified to sit here and talk. So I always say that I didn't go to this Concordia, but I did online for 2 years. So my wife and I met in Michigan during undergrad, and she got her master's from that Concordia. So she can't say that she went to this one, but they're still taking my.
Just say Concordia. That'll
That's
work.
Right.
That'll work. Yeah.
Yeah, my money's still going there, so it's.
Yeah, sure.
Tech 21 is an instructional technology program for teachers across the country. I work with them. We host workshops throughout the school year for teachers, so that's part of what I do. And I am a certified educator with the International Society of Technology and Education. I just want to brag, so you can go see where all that. So.
Well, you got to go to school most of your life to do it. You're
Right.
right. Yeah.
You gotta keep going for that stuff.
So, some expectations are just kind of, I try to keep this rather loose, rather conversational. So, simple. If you have questions, stop me. It's really, I have things that that I can talk about, but if they're not what you wanted to hear, or you have something else you want to talk about, I'd rather do that. You're here, so let's answer questions. So, that's how we did it last time. So we're all good. I don't mind it at all. So, Colin, are we connected to other locations tonight?
So we're Facebook living it, and then it's recording. So.
Okay, so if questions come through, will you
Yep.
be... Okay.
Yep, I'll be monitoring that.
All right, sounds good. So let's look at some proactive steps. Some things that you can do to help keep you safe on the internet or when you're connected. So the first one, it's just your passwords. That is like one of the first lines of defense is having a good password. So a good password is unique. It's not going to be like I have a friend who works in IT over at Concordia. Like they've banned use of the word bulldog in anything in their passwords because it's not unique to that institution, right? So so make sure it's something that's not easily connected. Using the town sewer would not be unique.
My brother used the word password.
That is definitely not unique, and strongly not recommended. So no. Huskers would be probably would also be something I would shy away from, just because. Yep, there's.
I do use my address.
I would not. It is unique. You're the only one who has the address of 123 Main Street or whatever your address is, but I wouldn't. Because your password should not have private information in it. Because that's public information. Your address is public information, and so someone can easily take what they find about you through public records and try to apply that to a password.
What if it includes the year you were born, or the year you graduated from high school, or the year you got married, or the year you turned 60, or whatever? But a year.
Again, probably not. Because again, it can be linked to you.
Well, can you use the same password over and over and over?
If it's really unique, yeah.
Never duplicated.
Oh, Oh, booey.
possible?
That's terrible.
It is kind of hard, yes.
So we throw
Change
tomatoes at him
one
now, or shall we
digit,
wait?
yeah.
Shall we wait, yeah.
So, okay, so you mentioned, so I have I was a teacher for a long time, and my wife got a job here in Seward, and so we relocated here from Northeast Indiana. So I'm not currently in a classroom. But one of our programs made us change our password every year. And so it was, Jeff 1. Then the next year, like, I don't want to put Jeff 2. Or whatever it was, right? It was,
Yeah.
I just went to the next one. So, and then I can say how many years I was there based on what the number at the end of the password was. But it really should not be duplicated, because when someone, we'll use it, her bad actor, okay? We try to stay away from hackers. Bad actors are really more appropriate. So a bad actor is going to take a password and try to apply it to anything that may have your account. Because usually your account is your email address. And if they have your email address and they figure out your password, they can try that combination in a variety of account sites, or sites have accounts, and see if it works. So that's why we recommend not duplicating a password.
Well, I do, like, for my banking online.
I'm gonna remind you, this is on Facebook Live right now. So
I won't say what it is.
okay.
But I'm very careful to have one that nobody would ever know.
Right.
But for something pretty simple, I just do Zara.
You're probably gonna tell us how to store these easily,
Oh,
so we
yeah.
can find them.
And where.
That's coming up.
And where.
Yeah.
I hate that.
I'm not gonna say that there's no one who doesn't duplicate a password, but it is a good practice. I think I know of one person who probably doesn't, and he's very smart and genius and computery, and he's been doing this for since the early 2000s. Never had the same password, so, and he can remember all of them. So,
Oh my God.
yeah. But anyway,
But then aren't you supposed to keep your password for different accounts somewhere? So in case, or if we pass away, somebody can go and check.
yeah,
that out.
well,
That's crazy.
I have that on a list somewhere in my sites. I have some,
Okay.
yeah. Your password should not include personal information, because not a lot of that stuff is public record, and so bad actors can just scan the Google and get that. If you ever want to scare yourself, Google your name, and public database sites will show you that you live at 123 Main Street. Based on the public records, say that you're probably about 200 years old or whatever your age is.
Yeah.
It's, and say have your age, have your
House, place you live, and all that.
current
All your
address.
information.
May have people who they think are connected to you, so could have a spouse, children, so.
Can you clear that information?
I've heard of services that will help with that. I've also heard that they're not accurate,
Legit.
so not necessarily, yeah, not necessarily malicious, but just not. They actually don't. So, especially if it's public record, you can't scrub public record. My driver's license information, or that's record with the state. My title to my house is public record. So you can go to the courthouse and find the title. If stuff that's public record, yeah. High schools, their yearbooks are considered public record and never to be destroyed. So that's all. So it's nothing I'm doing today is meant to scare. But so I'm not coming anything from a fear tactic. But just real about it.
I guess I'm more thinking of if I Google something, then I start getting all these ads about, if I'm looking for a car
Sure.
or
That is what's called a cookie, and I didn't put anything about that in here. What that is it's a little bit of information that is stored on your computer that says that you are doing, whatever, looking for a car, and that cookie then also can transmit back to Amazon, and so Amazon says, "Oh, you're looking at cars." That's that sort of thing. So, but I mean, cookies are also what's there to help. When you have preferences, it saves those preferences. So they're not always bad.
Okay.
Like there are, if you go to a website and ask you what your preferences are, right? Say cookie preferences. There are some that are just essential. You can't turn those off. But should give you the option to not collect others, which includes the targeting ones, the advertising ones, and those are the ones that are,
Well, they sell the information, if I understand right,
they can, yeah.
Once you get cookied, how do you get uncookied?
In your web browser,
Okay, here's the deal. 3 or 4, maybe 10 times a day, I get, we're from the loan service and we're gonna send you X number of dollars. I have never, ever wanted a loan. I've never asked for a loan. I don't know how they got my name, but I can't get rid of them. They just hound me all day long, 5 to 10 times a day.
this is a phone call.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I've even stopped the phone calls, and they still come through.
Yeah, I don't have the resources for that one, because that's a different, that's not a cookie thing.
Well, that's not a cookie. Well, I didn't ask
that's-
for it, and I don't
that's
know
just
why they do it.
Well, because they bought your phone number from a list somewhere,
Okay.
and so it's,
I think everybody needs a loan.
Well, I suppose.
and so they, just from that, that's where they,
But when you tell them no and they hound you
I don't
day after day.
even talk to them.
No, well,
but that's something I don't know if the chamber can help with that, or the library may have resources, but they may have, someone has, probably can, or the senior center may say, hey, here are some resources to help with, especially your phone number.
okay,
I personally don't have those resources, so I don't,
okay.
I don't want to steer you wrong, but,
Yeah.
if it's your phone, that's a different,
It's on the phone, yeah, it's on the phone.
yeah, it's a different, thing than what we're talking.
Okay.
So, especially name, okay, birthdays, you don't want to put those things in a password, so, like, Jeff, July 4, not a good password. My birthday's
That
not,
would be, if you put Jeff July 4 as a no-no, that would be okay.
that could.
Does everything have to be tight, no spaces,
Typically, passwords are not to have spaces, yes.
typically? So you,
I mean, some, there may be, I can't say that I've seen that you can, but generally the things is no spaces.
okay.
Well, I've never used Jeff July 4th, but I've used Larry July 4th, and it's worked very well, because that's my birthday, but I'm not gonna use it anymore.
No, I wouldn't. And
I'm not gonna use
that
it
is not
anymore.
so I knew that this was going out, so that is not my birthday, so. It's America's birthday, Larry's birthday.
Yeah, there you go.
So I chose, also we're the 4th of July city, right?
Yeah,
So,
that's why I used it, yeah.
all right. Okay. So we talk about unique and never duplicated. They typically should have different types of characters. So something that's lowercase. So you use lowercase letters. Use uppercase letters. So a combination of uppercase and lowercase. If it's all lowercase or all uppercase, it makes it easier. Because if you think about it, if a bad actor is trying to go through every possible combination and everything's in lowercase, they just have to try 26 letters, then another 26 letters, another 26. But if it's lowercase and uppercase, now it's 52. And so it makes it a little bit longer for them to do that. Numbers also help. So we've gone from 52 possibilities to 62 possibilities. add a symbol to it. So anything in that, you press shift and any of those symbols on the above each number, question marks, periods, brackets. So now we've increased that number of possibilities in each spot by a lot.
Well, I'm not to use exclamation point.
At the end. So, July 4, right? You
Yeah, I've done that a lot.
Right, and I've done it too, but that's another common one, so they're gonna go, that's like trying the password of password. That's a good, that's a good starting point if you're a bad actor, right? Or 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, exclamation point. Okay, now I got it. So.
What type of, I just think that maybe, I'm sure that we're just all kind of common people. Why would anybody want to find our password? Wouldn't it be more likely that they would look somebody up and say, there's somebody like this guy that doesn't need a loan, he has plenty of money.
Well, yeah.
And so,
But I would get the password from a guy that's working, because I don't work.
but why should I be in danger of somebody even wanting mine?
Because you're gonna be least suspecting of it.
Oh,
Your bank account. You don't want them in your bank account.
It's it's easier to rob a house than a bank, right?
well,
A
some,
bank is where all the money is. But they suspect it, so they're more protected against it. The vulnerable victims are the ones that think that, why me?
but then, why can I use for some of my apps, like my credit card, it uses my face, not a password to get to the information. That's, faces, that's very, like a very good password, your face to
It's
open
unique,
an app.
right?
Better than a password, you said, or no?
You probably would have had a password to begin with,
Yeah.
and then you enabled that. So typically, like if your thumbprint or your face, like Apple has the Face ID, other phones, you can unlock with your thumbprint or fingerprint, right? Those are unique to you, but they're also based just on that device. So it's not that your face unlocks your bank account.
Oh.
Is that on your phone, that overrides the need for a password because your device is verifying that is you.
Oh, okay.
These are great questions.
Yeah, because I, often wondered, but no, so it probably is a good idea to use a face and then also have the password behind it. So you have double protection.
Yeah, because it's like if you went to, your phone has your, does your face, right? But if you go to your computer, it can't, right?
It can?
Mine can't. And so, like, I don't have Face ID on my computer, so I have to use my password. So you still have your password,
Yeah.
but the apps are written in a way that biometric on your phone that unlocks it or does other things.
And are they using your eyes to open
I
it?
don't know that technology.
Because I was just hearing that you're not going to need a password if you leave the country. Or a passport, I'm sorry, a passport. They'll just take a picture and your eyes will be what they use to identify who you are. But that's coming. It's already used in some airports.
Well, they already say no glasses, so it's yeah, I think it's coming, yeah.
Yes. I didn't know why. I mean, other than probably just to verify. Yeah, we had to fly for a funeral recently, and yep, I had to look at something, and I still handed my passport.
Yeah.
I still hand my ID over to TSA, but they also, I don't know.
That's how they get out of Mexico too. Then really, you have to show them your passport, and you think that's good enough, and then they go and take a picture of you too. You think, who are you selling this to?
You just have to be so careful. You just want to stay at home.
Yeah, that's me.
Your little room and not even leave.
Another one, the longer the better. Yeah, the more characters you have in a password, the more possibilities there are for combinations, right? So even if we just did numbers, right, 1 through 10, right, or 0 through 9. If your password was one number, there's 10 possibilities, right? 0 through 9. If it's 2, now we've increased it, right? There's 100 possibilities. 10 times 10. Now there's 1,000 possibilities. You know, and so and you just keep going, you know, factors of 10. So the longer it is, the more possibilities that there is to try. Now that's just numbers, right? You know, 1,000 combinations just in 3 numbers. Okay, well, let's put a letter in it, and uppercase, lowercase doesn't matter. Now we made that 36 times, 36 squared, 36 to the third, 36 to the fourth, right? That's the different possible combinations. Okay, now uppercase, lowercase, now we're at 52 plus the 10, now we're at 62. 62 to the first, 62 combinations, 62 squared, 62 to the third. So that's why the longer it is, and the more things you can put into it, like a character and all that, that helps. It just, yeah, takes people longer. It's like when what was it? Like, you know, people trying to guess someone's, you know, back in the day, you know, like their ATM code, right? 11111, no. 111112, no. 111113, right? That's what, you know, bad actors have to do, is to go through all those different combinations. So, and if the harder they have to work, the less likely they're going to want to continue. So, the experts recommend 12 characters. I'm no expert, so I recommend a sentence.
You recommend what?
A sentence.
Okay.
It's easier to remember.
I use
Right.
I use a Bible phrase or something, I've done that.
Yep, that would, yep.
And then, you know, something you memorized, and that does, the first letter of it, not the whole thing, because somebody might know that.
Right, but pulling a sentence out of the entire Bible there's a lot of sentences in there, right?
Yeah.
So that would be something that could help. You know, it's something else that adds another layer. You got me thinking of something. So I remember I have a graphic I'll show you guys here. All right. So, and also and then when you do that, with that sentence, you can also use different characters and numbers to replace letters. So let's use the example here, making new passwords. Okay, that's going to be our new password, right? Making new passwords.
Oh.
Okay. All together, no spaces. I separated each word. I capitalized the beginning of each word, so I know where I am in the sentence, right? That's a possibility. So then I replace the A with the @ sign, S with a $sign, O's are zeros, E's are threes, I's are ones. So it still looks like making new passwords, but I've just substituted numbers and symbols for some of the letters.
Let's see.
You could do that with your name, couldn't you?
You could, but we shouldn't use our names.
Okay. I was just trying to.
So this one, for example, you don't write this down, but this is that new password is 18 characters long, and you've used uppercase, lowercase, symbols, numbers. So I've done the things, and it's 18 characters long, and it's just a phrase, making new passwords.
Only problem is you gotta remember which one is which. And it takes more work to print that in. And
It does take more work, but there's no price for safety.
But he has a method there with with the dollar signs being the S's and the,
Yeah, with that I'd go
yeah,
for it.
with the A
Yeah.
being, with the A, with the circle being the at being the A's. And, yeah, so, yeah, that really makes sense, yeah.
Life is complicated.
It is.
Gets more so all the time, you know?
Alright, so I'm gonna give some examples, and you just say good password, bad password. Alright?
Easy to remember.
It's easy to remember,
But,
but it's a bad one. Jeff was born in 2027. Again, I'm still not using my actual information because
And it's
I'm on
not.
Facebook Live.
okay.
So I went in the future, so. Yeah, bad. What about this one?
No, probably not.
No, you moved, so you're like, oh, I now live on Pearl Street. No. I don't, by the way.
That's great. Yeah, that's really, that'll give you a headache.
Gives you a headache, but it tells people where you live.
Oh, really?
Oh,
In high school.
Lettered in golf in high school.
mm,
I thought that one's okay.
oh, that's,
I didn't say where I went to high school.
Well,
well,
that's
you
true.
know.
Just said that I did golf. You know, just because you live here in Seward doesn't mean you went to Seward High School, especially if you moved from out of state. So someone's better. It's less identifiable and talks about a hobby. So I went with good, but I can see why you would think no.
So it'd be easy for you to remember if you wanted to use them.
Yeah.
But,
And I don't play golf, so.
okay.
So I recommend using a password manager. And here's different ones that different apps that you can use. Personally, I've told people Google Chrome has a password manager built into it. So if you use Google Chrome to use the internet, just browse the internet, that has a password manager in it. I believe Safari does as well. I think Edge does, Firefox does, so that your browser should have a password manager in there. Easy way to tell is if you log into a site and your browser goes, do you want me to save this for later? That's a good way to know that you have one. If it asks you, there's a password manager there.
And no one can get into it.
Theoretically, I'm not going to guarantee no. I mean, you hear about security breaches and compromises, so I'm not going to say. I never say never.
When you say browser, what do you really mean? So my kids say, "Oh, Dad, just do this in your browser," and I say, "What?
So,
Just explain a browser
Sure.
to me."
You have a computer you use, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you open to go to go to 1011 News to check out the weather? What do you open?
I think it's in Chrome. Google
That's your
Chrome.
browser.
Okay. I know, but what is it?
It's a way for you to browse the internet.
Okay.
So it's the program that sends.
Well, why do I choose that one and not another one? How do I decide what browser I want to use?
I mean, it's basically shopping a product. Microsoft had Internet Explorer for many years,
And then they just shift you. They just shut it down and say, "Oh, you got to go do something else."
and they scrapped it and went what's now called Edge. Microsoft Edge.
Yeah.
That's their new browser.
Yeah.
Google uses Chrome. Macs, so MacBooks. They use Safari. You can also get other browsers like Mozilla Firefox. That's another browser. It's a separate product from a different company. So it's like why do you drive a Ford? Well, it's what I had. my dad had a Ford, he gave me my first car, his hand-me-down, and I've driven Fords ever since, right? Or whatever, right? Ford stopped making the Fiesta, so I had to go to a different type of car. That's like, they stopped making Internet Explorer, so I had to go to Edge. They stopped making this, so I had to pick this, model.
So, if I'm using my Google Chrome, because that's what my kids use, and they're the ones that's gonna help me if I have a problem, then that would make sense, right?
Yep.
Yeah, because that's something they know how to use. Yeah, okay, thank you.
So it's whatever you use.
Yeah,
Look
well,
up information.
And when you can get some
Correct.
help to use, yeah.
Yeah. So like I said, Google Chrome has one built in. I'm going to show you what it looks like. But all browsers have a password manager built in. There are other third-party password managers that you can use as well. But I'm going to show you in the browser. So let's say I'm creating an account on this site here. Okay. So you type in your email address. That's going to be what they ask for, and then you have to create a password. Well, a password manager, like in Chrome, if I right click into that password window, it will say suggest password. And I can click on that. And then it gives me that password. It generated it for me. So PMH4UR2MEHVZF3J. 15 characters. Uppercase, lowercase
Where did
numbers.
you say you clicked on to get to that point? I don't see.
I did a right click in that password window, like with my mouse. And the suggest password will show up in the menu.
Well, I think I really like the idea where you take a biblical thing or something you can remember and then change the characters like you did with the letters, the symbols and stuff. Yeah, that seems a lot easier.
So I just right click.
How would you ever remember that thing? Well, I can never.
Then you get a menu that shows up,
Oh,
right? So when I right clicked in this field here, this is the menu that showed up in Chrome, and so just suggest password.
But then you can delete it and put your own in there.
You could.
Because yes, you would never remember that.
No.
But it'll save this though.
Oh, okay.
This is my password manager, and it's going to save that along with my email address. And so next time I go to this website, it'll say, here's your email address, here's the password I created for you.
Oh, that's why I have trouble.
And so you would tell your Google Password Manager, created a strong password, this one here. I can use it, or I can choose my own. I didn't actually create this account, so
yeah,
okay,
just an example.
just an example. So as I said, then it saves it, so the next time you go there, it will autofill that password. Now, that example there just had uppercase, lowercase, and numbers. Other times it'll give you the symbols as well. That particular example did not. So, okay. Don't write them down on a piece of paper. Okay. We stay with we go visit my wife's family. Hey, can I get on your Wi-Fi so I can do some work while I'm out of town? Yeah, they rummage through all these papers that have passwords to a lot of things.
Right here.
Yeah. So, someone breaks into your house and they see a stack of passwords. That's more than gold. So they'll take that and your gold, but they'll pick them because now they say I bank at Bank of Bank, and here's my password. They it's you think it's in my house. It's or someone's coming in to do repair, some sort of work in your house. You trust them to do you trust them because you're letting them in, but doesn't mean you give them everything, right? So.
I recently was a house sitter for a relative, okay? So the house sitter said, I'm going on a cruise, would you come stay at my place while I'm on the cruise? All the time I was at the place, her place, I could not get on my computer because I didn't know how to get my computer to accept that system. So what do I do? How did I not be able to do password to get my computer to work at somebody else's house?
You probably weren't connected to their Wi-Fi.
No, I wasn't. So how?
And that's what you would have to.
There's a password.
There's a password. You'd have to get it from them.
Okay.
They'd have to give it to you.
So I think they gave me the password, but then I didn't know where to put the password, so I still couldn't get on the computer.
Yeah. So you would use on your computer. You would tell it to connect to a Wi-Fi connection, kind of like what we did last month with your phone,
Okay.
right? And then you would go through the process of connection, whether it's your phone or your computer. You select the Wi-Fi name, whatever they've named it or the provider named it. And when you try to connect to it, the system will say, okay, what's the password? And then you type that in.
But what about all
I never could get it.
the things like Norton Security and all these other things who say, you've gotta have me, because I can keep this from you, I can keep that from you. And I get those all the time too, and never even use them, so is that, do they really help?
Yes. Yes, they do their job, but it's a product or a service, so you would have to pay for it. Is it a requirement for life? No.
You're just a common person, but I really need it.
I'm not gonna say no.
But if I'm not a business and I don't do any,
Personal, bad actors go after people just like they do businesses. So it is a product that Norton is selling or LifeLock is selling to provide protection. It's like insurance.
oh, it's a personal choice.
Yes.
Can you get a like service that you don't have to pay for? Are there likes protection services that aren't that service that you don't have to pay for?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not to say that they aren't out there, I just haven't
Okay.
looked into that. I don't have an answer for that. Right. Another proactive step, your own Wi-Fi connection at home, keep that password protected. I think most require a password, that way, when they, whoever, is setting up your internet, like Nextlink, they require you to have a password on your system. Some systems also give you what's called a guest account. So if it's your Wi-Fi is called Johnny's Wi-Fi, and you have your password to get onto that. There could be a separate one called Johnny's Guest Wi-Fi, and that's one you would give out to people. That password, and that way it's not actually connected to the same fully connected to the same system that your devices are on. And the reason why you want to do that is when you're on a network connection, bad actors can try to gain access to whatever else is on that network. So, when I'm at home and someone else is on their computer, I could try to access their computer through our own network because we're all using the same system. So, guests are coming over. Yeah, they might be your friends and all that. And they could be the godparent to your child, but give them the guest Wi-Fi.
Well, is that similar to like if you were, which we don't have anymore, but a McDonald's, and they have service there, and it just says this system is not protected.
Correct.
So you need to be careful because anything you put on there is open to the public.
So things like personal banking, don't do it on a public Wi-Fi account.
Does that mean like, I have them on my phone, but I don't know if you couldn't be working on your computer driving down the road. But if you're just out anywhere, it's better just to do it basically in your own home or.
Yeah, or on your own system. So, your own Wi-Fi system. If you're on your phone and it's just, doing stuff with cell data and not connected to a Wi-Fi, like you drive out 20 miles into the middle of a cornfield and you do your banking on your phone, like you're not on a Wi-Fi. It's your personal connection there.
Okay, that's.
For a while, banks were requiring you to turn off Wi-Fi to do banking on your phone. You had to do it or cell data. I remember that for a while. I can't remember which bank I had or whatever at the time, but it wouldn't let me do some like mobile deposit over a Wi-Fi connection, just for safety. Another way to think about the guest account is like remember valet keys? You had a key that could, open your trunk, do all this sort of stuff, but you had a separate valet key that only opened the door and turned on the car, but it couldn't get into other, like your trunk or your glove box. I remember valet keys.
I don't.
Okay.
Never heard of such a
I
thing.
didn't
Oh.
have that.
I remember my parents' cars had valet keys. That was so if you went and you could give that to the valet, but you can keep stuff locked in your trunk, and that key didn't have access to. Wow,
Never heard of such a thing.
I didn't think I'd stump people with that one. So it's a great analogy. I'm sorry you guys aren't sticking with me.
Before my
Yeah.
time with cars, I guess.
Or skip that one.
Yeah, didn't have that fancy a car.
Well, we had a Pontiac family car, wasn't it? Anyway, I digress. Yeah, that was a gem. When I taught middle school for years, I'd say, giving you guys gold, and you guys are like, I kind of feel that right now. I was really proud of my, I'm going to win the day with this one. You guys are like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so those are passwords. That's just some things to help. Those are proactive steps. Okay, we're good on this. Some things, and it's what they say. The best offense is a good defense, right? So if is this going to be 100% preventative? No. There's no guarantee on that one, right? But if you have a good defense, it's going to help. So. Password 1, 2, 3, 4. No more. Okay. So tell your brother to change his password. Okay. So what to look out for? So we've done these proactive steps. What are some things to look out for when you're doing things? I say when in doubt, close it out. So if something pops up in a window, just close it out. When you close it out, that cuts the connection. That's a good. Oh, this looks suspicious. Close it out.
Is that the same as on a phone? You just delete it or no?
Yep, swipe it out. Close it out.
It comes back again.
Or if you close it out, and then you all of a sudden say, oh no, I shouldn't have done that. How do you get it back?
If it's on a browser, it's in your history. You can go back to it.
Okay.
But the reason why I say this is that it helps close that connection between you and that website immediately.
But it doesn't mean that they're not going to ask you for it about taking a loan again.
Yeah.
Right.
They'll they must just have that just kind of on a rotation. Automatic that press a button and everybody gets it.
I've got a story here in a little bit, and we'll talk through some of that. And the sooner the better. So pop-up comes up, hey, I want to give you a loan.
No.
That looks funny. Close, right? Or as opposed to, oh yeah, no, it's like.
So what if you close it and it comes back? I think I've closed them and I still get them.
Then there's something else going on that you might need to, which we'll talk about in what happens if something happens. Okay. So there's a type of scam out there called phishing, okay? And here's a real life phishing example. So I got this email through my work email. It says, you have received files, due invoice report. First of all, the grammar's off. That helps,
Yeah.
okay? But you're either drawn to lawsuit, okay? And in fact, the subject line even had like lawsuit or litigation or something in the subject line. And so you see that in the subject and you open the message, you see the word lawsuit, kind of catches your attention, right? First of all, I don't have an accounting team. Okay, like I said, I work in a church. It did come from someone who, trying to not divulge too much, but it did come from someone from somewhere within our system. It came from their email address. They did not send this. They found out they sent it after everybody was said, hey, I think you may have been hacked. So you click on that, oh, I have a lawsuit. Well, let's download the lawsuit. That's where they get you. They want you to click that button that says download the file. I did not click on download the file. But as the IT person, my day the next day got rather interesting and very full. So in doing an audit of our system, that email was sent to over 2,000, almost 2,000 email addresses. A number of them were not known by anyone in our building because some of them were even out of the country.
That they got your email? Is that
They
how-
got into this person's email.
Oh.
And I thought I had a screenshot of it, but we were subjected to a different phishing attack prior. It looked rather, and the thing is, some of these look very legitimate. And somebody had clicked on that link thinking it's actually what it was. And that's, now they got access to your account. So, and then later, the bad actors used that email address to then do their bad acting. And so that's where, like, you got these emails, I said, that were out of the country, email was sent out of the country because they took their contact list, that person's contact list, and added it to another couple sets of lists that they may have gotten from other attempts, and just combined them and made them into one giant list and put that in there and sent it out. Those 2,000 emails were sent in a matter of like 2 minutes. Just automatic. Now, the bad actor is probably AI. It's probably some sort of artificial intelligence. But someone made the program to do that. So nobody's going through and typing in all 2,000 email addresses. They're just running a bot of some sort to do this for them. So to kind of go to your question earlier, why would they do this? Well, they want to see, they'll see who's reacting. They'll see who's clicking on that link. And then eventually they'll try to do something with that information later. Maybe immediate, it may be weeks later. You don't know. I don't know because I'm not them. I don't know what's going on in their head, right? They're just trying to find something or someone who's susceptible to clicking on that link.
So how do you safely eliminate that?
There is a button in your email that says report as spam. You can report it as spam, and then the way your email host, whether it's Google or Yahoo or whatever the @whatever.com your email address is, that system will flag it and just say, okay, messages like this are spam, and you just delete it. Don't click on anything inside of that email. This is not the entire thing, like,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I just took a screenshot of the inside of that email. And so if there's a delete button, just like normal, just delete it. And then you're done with it. But whatever you do, don't click on any link inside of it.
Mhm.
So,
The ASAP is another clue.
yeah, because they're thinking, oh, I gotta do that sense of urgency. My grandmother got a phone call. I lived, like I said earlier, I lived near my grandparents, and like 3 minutes down, 3 minutes away, right? And one day she said, I got the weirdest phone call. Said, hey grandma, it's your oldest grandson, and I'm in a Mexican jail and I need some help. And she said, I was like, man, your cousin Chris, but I hung up the phone, like he's just playing with me. I said, Grandma, I'm your oldest grandson. My cousin is younger than me. I'm the oldest grandson. And you watch my kids, you wouldn't know if I'm out of the town, let alone the country. Like, it's similar to those sorts of things. Anything that they can do to get you to send money or, whatever. And if they, and so what happened was in these phishing emails, they put a cookie into, on your computer that then does behind the scenes stuff to get your account information. They don't necessarily know your password, but they've saved the information that your password can unlock, and they unlock it. And so they can get in there and then do their malicious stuff. So they may not necessarily know your email, but they can fool or try to trick websites into saying, yeah, I know the password, just let me in. Oh, you know the password? Then yeah, come on in. It's like, going to a club. My name's on the list. You don't have to check the list, but my name's on the list. Oh, yeah, then go on in. Similar idea. Was your name on the list? No. But you got in. You found the right bouncer, the right person at the door who can let you in. And that's what they're looking for. So, like I said, we had a lot of fun the next day. That was my entire day.
If you hang up on a call that you know is not real, then you shouldn't have to worry about it anymore, right?
There's two schools of thought on that. That yes, that it should mark it as not worthwhile, but it did work because it did ring through. It's not like it's an inactive number. If it was an inactive number, the system would have kicked it back. So phone numbers are kind of trickier that way.
If you hear a message, can you just hang up on it?
Yep.
And that'll.
Oh yeah, I get those sorts of phone calls at work all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah. And with those, I've
Well,
heard
I've
before.
heard you're not supposed to give any kind of verbal response too, because
Sometimes there's been a thing like they're recording to get whatever. I answer the phone for my work. My work. This is Jeff. Then I hear this recording and I just hang up.
Well, sometimes a couple times I've wondered, I didn't see the call when it came in or it was on my phone. And then I thought, I wonder. And I called the number and then you get a busy signal. Or Verizon says, this is not a working number or whatever. So, except then, I called back.
Right.
But I don't know if they...
With phone scams, there are also spoofing numbers, and that's sometimes emails get spoofed. So with my work, I get someone say, "Hey, can you come chat with me? I have a question for you. It'll just take a couple minutes." But it's sent from so we're at a church, pastor at, and it has a weird thing that's not anything else. That's spoofing. That's where they're trying to pretend they're someone else, but they're not. And phone numbers do that too, where sometimes I've gotten callbacks. Someone calls me, I'm like, hello? Hey, I got a phone call from this number. I said, I never called you. It's someone mimicking my phone number to pretend that's my number to call someone. If these people spend just as much energy doing legitimate things as opposed to, they could probably do better off. But
Well, I'm not sure if you've ever seen though on TV, they showed where in India, where these intelligent kids graduated from college and there are no jobs, but they can hire on to a big building with every one of them sitting at a computer, and they're fishing, and they say the best place to go is the US. These people in the US answer, you know, and that's their whole livelihood, and they're intelligent kids that have college degrees, but they need money, and so they work for these companies there, and just sad. Too bad that we can't. But it all came to being with cell phones and computers. In the old days, they didn't have that.
So we have just a couple minutes. I want to make sure we get through some of this, especially these reactive steps. So, bad actor. Okay, so what do? First thing is change your password. You know, I said, you know, sometimes they'll put something in there that will say, hey, you know, the password, you know, is this, and yeah, right, and, yeah. But if you change your password, and it can't be the same one, right? It's going to be a change. This behind the scenes things will go, it's been recently changed, I need to find a new identifier. And so when it tries to use the old identifier to say, yeah, I know the password, it goes, no, it's, you know, this. Like, you're supposed to, you know, your browser says, if somebody hands me a pink piece of paper, they know the password. And so the bad actor's trying to hand that pink piece of paper over. But I changed my password, and so now the code is a green piece of paper. If I show the green card, I can get in. Now that's the new one. But the bad actor comes back with the pink one, because that's what worked. And the system goes, nope, it changed, so this doesn't work anymore. So change your password, that's a great first step. If it gets to the point where you need to change an account, the company will help you with that. I don't think I've ever, other than maybe your email, you know, having to create a new email, but that'll be something that your company will help do. It's like your bank might say, hey, account numbers had to change because of whatever. Like, again, not something I've seen, but you don't need to do that on your own. The company will tell you. Your gas company, your electric company will say, hey, you gotta, whatever. Okay. If you suspect that things are bad, find a computer technician to help you. My predecessor here, that was the service he did. I don't know if he's still doing it. You know, if you're still doing that.
He does still service Seward if you need, but he lives in Lincoln, so.
Yeah, so Andrew Hannes, we have him, and there's another newer shop in town. I think that took over where he was, right?
I think so.
There are services that can help you try to clean up your computers. So if that's something that's you think something really bad happened, as far as security, find a computer tech that can help with that. And I'm assuming the chamber would be able to help guide that. The senior center and say, hey, here's some computer techs that can help you. So, all right, but first step is just always change your password. And I said, if you feel like things went south, find a tech who can do all that behind the scenes work for you. Okay. You guys have been doing great asking questions, but is there anything else before we wrap this up? Be mindful of our time tonight.
You answer any phone questions? Any phone thing?
Potentially. If possibly, it depends on what the question is. We did some of that last time. I had someone, because I do IT stuff at a church, somebody came and said, hey, can you help me with my phone? And I'm like, no, because I'm not a fully repair person. But so I always say potentially with a little star. Well, thank you for coming tonight. Our next workshop is May 26th. We're going to talk about apps and programs. So I think you were asking about spreadsheets before. So we'll talk about some spreadsheet stuff. We'll talk about online banking, how to get something set up, or just how to do whatever. Come with questions. So my goal for that is we'll have a few things, because we already talked about spreadsheets that already came in, but also other programs, and we'll demonstrate stuff. So that's the next one in May, so.
Okay,
All right.
thank you, my friend.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it, we appreciate
My
it.
pleasure.
Yeah. Yeah, the reason the spreadsheets come up, it was tax time, I just been to the tax guy. I said, God, if I just had a spreadsheet, it would have been a whole lot easier.